Breaking today, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban is pushing to host a Trump-Putin summit in Budapest as soon as next week to tackle the Ukraine war, the Telegraph reports. Orban's also urging EU leaders like France and Germany to hold their own summit with Russia afterward, while Zelensky admits military gains aren't enough and diplomacy is key. This could be a pivotal moment for peace, and it is a pivotal day for peace at the White House. Welcome to Christy Lee's DC Dispatch. President Trump is hosting the Armenian Prime Minister and Azerbaijani president today. That's a tough one. A historic peace summit to end decades of conflict with a signing ceremony set to seal a deal is planned. And that's all according to the Washington Post reporting. Lindell TV's Kara Castronova will be joining me in just a moment to cover those peace talks. And on deck, we have Dr. Ben Tapper with Maha News and Reaction. And we'll wrap up the show with Pickaxe CEO Jeff Dornick, once a fierce supporter of RFK Jr. So what grade is he giving him now? Now, while Trump is continuing peace talks abroad, he wants to bring more peace to the Capitol. President Trump's administration is ramping up federal law enforcement in Washington, D.C., starting just last night after a former DOJ staffer earlier this week was attacked, and that's according to CNN. This surge tied to Trump's Make D.C. Safe and Beautiful executive order includes U.S. Park Police, FBI, and more targeting high crime areas. Here's NBC News Washington with how long this effort will last.
President Trump, it's not a secret how he feels about violence in the city, and it's resulted in this. We are outside of Union Station this morning because the White House says you can now expect to see more police presence in touristy areas of D.C. In fact, there were several things announced by the White House yesterday. Check it out. For the next 7 days, and potentially longer than that, you can expect to see federal officers in marked units patrolling what the Trump administration is calling high-traffic tourist areas and other hotspots. We are not sure exactly what those hotspots are. The increase in law enforcement presence is supposed to start each night at midnight. We are talking quite a few agencies here, guys, just to name a few of them. Metro Transit Police, Amtrak Police, U.S. Capitol Police, the DEA, and the FBI. Look here, the ATF Washington office, that's the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. They posted this picture just before 2 a.m. this morning, showing them apparently pulling over a car along Georgia Avenue. Tony Millette, this is obviously not the first time that we have heard the president talk about Washington, D.C. as a city. By now you know he has threatened to take over Washington, D.C. And as we wait to see what happens there, one thing is for sure, you will definitely see an increased police presence for at least the next 7 days, guys.
Funny how he says that. He has threatened to take over D.C. Just anything to ramp up fear. Now I would like to check in with Kara, who is live in D.C. there. She's covering the Peace Summit. Do we have Kara in yet? I didn't hear otherwise.
Hi.
Oh, there she is. Okay. So, Kara, I know you're talking and covering the Peace Summit there in D.C., but I was just covering the continued efforts to make D.C. itself peaceful and less violent. So I was just curious, have you seen any changes or noticed that
the White House and the Kremlin have both indicated they're working through the details regarding the safety in the city of D.C., Christy?
Yeah.
Because for me, I'm from New York, so I'm used to sort of unsafe streets for the most part. But I do think that I'm, noticing that people are becoming more aware of the obviously need for safety in New York. As Allison reported from Lindell TV the other day, she was in a scenario where she felt very unsafe. So obviously that is an agenda that the president is working on, possibly federalizing D.C. And I think a lot of people that I've spoken to here in D.C., like neighbors of mine, really welcome that idea. A lot of people don't feel safe living in D.C. I myself lived in Noma. That's an area in D.C. I didn't really feel like it was the safest area, so I moved to Arlington, Virginia, which is what a lot of people in D.C. do. for the most part, when they don't want to actually live in the city itself, which can get really seedy at night. I felt like I had to sort of watch my back when I was on the train. That's not really a good feeling. I don't feel that way in Arlington, Virginia. So, I'm not in the actual DC city streets as of the past month or two. So I can't really speak of any changes there. But like I said, me being conditioned and from New York, where obviously has to be one of the most unsafe subways in the world. I actually welcome Washington, D.C. subways, believe it or not.
Yeah, and I'm sure it feels good that Trump is putting an effort to bring more peace, less violence there. And we see him doing that globally. A lot of talk of global peace efforts, and particularly that's part of his welcoming of Azerbaijan president and the Armenian prime minister. So tell me more how that's going.
Well, the Armenian leader just arrived, as you can see behind me. There's multiple flags and soldiers holding them of all the 50 states. So generally, when a world leader comes and visits the White House, the military is usually here in the driveway, sort of to see them in. So Armenia just arrived, and President Trump was able to greet at the door over there, and then they headed into the Oval Office where they will have a bilateral talk, some in front of the press and some behind closed doors. And later on, the leader of Azerbaijan is expected to arrive shortly after, where President Trump will also hold a bilateral meeting with the press there and also behind closed doors. So Ilham Aliyev, that is the president of Azerbaijan, is expected to arrive, I'd say in the next hour or so, as the Prime Minister of Armenia, Nikol Pashinyan, had just arrived momentarily. It was, a couple moments ago, right behind me. So you just missed it, Chrissy, when he pulled up and greeted the president at that door. These peace talks, a lot of people are looking forward to, because this is a conflict that has really just been ongoing for quite a while. A lot of Christian persecution. Obviously, we are a Christian network, so we have put a spotlight on that, especially Emerald Robinson. She's been reporting for a while on the persecution of Christians in Armenia, which is the first Christian nation in the world. I think it was 301 AD that Armenia became the first Christian nation ever. So hopefully this will lead to a full peace deal between Armenia and Azerbaijan. This was something that many presidents tried to do and really were unable to, Christy.
Well, it's exciting to see those developments in play. It's your understanding that they're going to have this signing and a ceremony to solidify some kind of a peace agreement?
They are. That's happening at about 4:30. In a trilateral where the two leaders will come face to face. Trump is meeting with them both separately, which is interesting, hopefully warming them up to each other, because obviously these two guys are rivals for a very long time and obviously don't have fond feelings for each other. So it would be interesting to check out their body language and, when they do the photo ops, will they stand close? Will they shake hands? Will they make eye contact? Because again, these are rivals. So that's happening at 4:30, and they will be signing that preliminary peace deal. If we could bring up that other article, U.S. Secure Strategic Trump Transit Corridor peace deal. So it's also about a peace deal, but it's also at the same time about securing this transit corridor that's going to be so beneficial to the United States and so many other nations. This is a way that a trade route that will not have to go through Russia or Iran, basically, that will connect various trade routes through that region. So that is something that President Trump is really looking forward to, and they are naming that route after President Trump. So that's very interesting, because he's so monumental in obviously bringing this trade route to fruition. So that's what's happening at 4:30. Hopefully we'll get closer to a peace deal and this trade route that will benefit the United States and benefit so many other countries, I think, worldwide.
So he's handling the conflicts abroad. Earlier, we reported that there are going to be efforts, potentially in Hungary, for Trump to meet with Putin. But then there's always a lot of craziness going on here at home. And so we had some news break earlier about Letitia James.
We did. Letitia James is being hopefully indicted. Hopefully, not to sound biased, but there's a grand jury probe into Letitia James. A lot of people feel like it's been a while coming now. Letitia James obviously ran on a platform to quote unquote get Trump. And she basically politically persecuted President Trump when he was, that 4 years of the Biden administration really went after President Trump, sort of colluding, in my opinion, with the Biden administration to make sure President Trump never took office again. So in this very stunning twist, the tables are turning on New York State Attorney General Letitia James. She literally made prosecuting President Trump her calling card. The Department of Justice has now convened a federal grand jury to investigate James, and this probe is zeroing in, Christy, on whether or not she abused her office to target political opponents. I think we know the answer to that. And if she violated civil rights and engaged in selective prosecution or wasted taxpayer dollars, for that matter, on ridiculous kangaroo court trials that we all had to endure for years. And like I said, as you know, this is something that Letitia James was famous for. So it's sort of poetic justice now that the full tables have turned. It's almost like karma. What goes around comes around, I guess. And in this case, it's coming around with the full weight of a federal grand jury. And obviously, we'll be paying close attention to that because it's something that I think a lot of people that watch our network is interested in, really just seeing these super elitists that went after the president and his supporters finally held to justice. And that certainly includes New York State Attorney General Letitia James.
It's always interesting to me that, and so like classic psychology, that they always accuse people of what they themselves are guilty of. I mean, we saw them really hone in on Trump acting as if he had done some kind of mortgage or real estate crime. And here we have Letitia James. We have Adam Schiff under investigation for like lying to get a better rate on his mortgage. And I believe Ruben Gallego is another one out of Arizona, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like all these people that were accusing Trump of doing this and wanting to impose the biggest fines that we've ever seen or heard of. They were the ones that were guilty of this kind of stuff.
No, for sure. And, there's some interesting videos obviously circulating on X where people just dig up the best stuff. And there was a soundbite I wanted to share with you. And that one was the one where Letitia James basically, one of her main things that she would say was nobody's above the law. As a Attorney General, I guess, nobody's above the law. Nobody's above the law. I guess that's coming back around and isn't aging so well for Letitia James. If you guys could play that sound.
No matter how powerful you are, no matter how rich you are, that no one is above the law, and that the law applies to all of us equally and fairly. No matter how powerful you are, no matter how much money you think you may have, no one is above the law. And it is my responsibility and my duty and my job to enforce it. The law is both powerful and fragile. In this state, we have a set of laws that every individual and entity must be held accountable to, regardless of who you are, regardless influence, wealth, or station in life. One set of laws. And today, we send a strong and loud message that no one is above the law.
Well, she really drove the point home to prosecute
She definitely drove.
herself.
She did. She certainly drove the point home. And I don't think, I'm looking at the list right now, that we have that clip. This other clip I really did want to play for you, and I reshared it on my X account. So check that one out, which was her campaign ad. And somebody said, "Oh, well, here's Exhibit 1 for the grand jury." Basically, her campaign ad promising to go after President Trump, not even knowing if he committed any crimes at the time, having no privy to any special information, just basically sort of that old,
Elect me
mentality.
so we can manufacture something up.
Right, exactly. Like, show me the man, I'll show you the crime. That old, I think, KGB, that's what they used to say back in the day in the Soviet Union, sort of is what that campaign ad of Letitia James points to. So that is on X. I reshared that under Kara Castanova so that you guys could check that out. It's very interesting if you look at her old campaign ads, and I think that will be evidence that should be presented to the grand jury jury with her intent to literally prosecute somebody. It doesn't matter if they committed a crime or not. That was her intent as Attorney General, to just find, and that's not the way the American justice system works, by the way. That's like similar to a general warrant. You don't just pick out a person and decide, I'm going to find a crime that this person committed so that I can arrest this person and knock them off of a ballot. Like I said, like usually the crime comes and then the arrest, not like let's find the man and then find the crime. So those campaign ads certainly are not aging well, and something that Letitia James might have wished that she didn't put out there as she faces her own probe by this federal grand jury in New York. The tables have turned.
Yes. And we are here for it, to cover it, of course. Thank you,
Of
Kara.
course.
I know you're going to be continuing to cover this very important peace summit that's happening right now, so we'll let you get back to that. Thank you so much.
Sure. One other thing I wanted to say is called the Trump Route for International Peace and Prosperity. That is the name of the route that I mentioned earlier that will be able to allow the United States and other countries to bypass Iran and Russia in that region of the world. So that is an important trade route that the president is working on, and they've named that trade route after the president. So I think we'll hear more about that at 4:30, probably during Vanessa's show, which I'm looking forward to, as we get more imagery and more sound out of these very, very important peace talks and deals that the president is making here at the White House.
Yes, and we're very grateful for you to be covering that for us. Thank you again, Kara.
Thanks, Christy.
Yep. All right, coming up, we have quick updates on the voting borders battle. Who's going to win in Texas here when it comes to how they draw these things? Plus, Dr. Ben Tapper, and a quick reminder, join our editorial board. You can be part of our decision-making when it comes to what we cover, how we cover it, who we talk to. Just simply send an email to news@lindelltv.com. That's news@lindelltv.com. News by the people and for the people and from the people. We'll work on something there. All right, let's take a commercial and we'll be right back.
The last time President Trump was in office, gold soared 50% and silver went up a huge 53%. Americans who invested in silver and gold during Donald Trump's first presidency are very happy that they did it. And right now, gold continues to soar to the highest numbers in history. These gains are just an appetizer for what's to come. Some market analysis are saying that gold is predicted to rise another 30% in the next year alone. So now's the time to invest in gold and silver, and that's why I partnered with Fisher Liberty Gold. Fisher Liberty Gold is a conservative-owned and operated precious metals investment company. They even helped my good friend President Trump get elected through their contributions to Turning Point USA and other conservative groups. I have dedicated my life to ensuring that people get the best sleep ever. And in addition to owning a MyPillow, I can now sleep well at night knowing that you can all protect your savings with precious metals with Fisher Liberty Gold. With Fisher Liberty Gold, you can sleep well knowing that your retirement is secure. And if you call now, you're going to receive your very own presidential gold guide and qualify for up to $20,000 in free silver. But wait, there's more. Call now or text metals to 26786 to receive your presidential gold guide from Fisher Liberty. And for a limited time, I will send you a free MyPillow for qualified accounts. This presidential gold guide from Fisher Liberty will tell you exactly why you need to own gold even while Donald Trump is president. And just by calling in, you get a free MyPillow for a limited time for qualified accounts and up to $20,000 in free silver. So don't wait. Call 1-888-4GOLD-19 or text metals to 26786 today. That's 1-888-4GOLD-19 or text metals to 26786 today to receive your free MyPillow and up to $20,000 in free silver.
Welcome back to DC Dispatch. Texas, though, where I'm broadcasting from, it is ground zero for a political showdown. AP News reporting Texas Democrats who fled to Illinois to block a Trump-backed redistricting plan are now begging for donations to keep their walkout going. Please support our whiny behavior. They have costs like hotel bills piling up. They want you to foot the bill, or donors anyways. Governor Abbott is fighting back, asking the Texas Supreme Court to oust Dem leader Gene Wu and ordering the Texas Rangers to probe possible bribery tied to their funding. With the FBI now helping track these lawmakers, this battle over redrawing congressional maps, it's getting wild. And Governor Abbott, well, he's raising the stakes. Watch.
Sounds like maybe federal help at this point to do it. Like, how does this end?
The way it always does, and that is the Democrats always come back. It could be tomorrow, it could be next week, it could be next month. They're going to come back, or we'll be able to track them down. One way or the other, they're coming back, and it's going to end with these maps being passed. And, you know, what I'm thinking now is if they don't start showing up, I may start expanding. We may make it 6 or 7 or 8 new seats we're going to be adding on the Republican side.
Yeah. The wall just got 10 feet higher.
Yes, that's how we do it. The Sentinel and Enterprise reports California Democrats are rushing to plan a special election to redraw U.S. House districts, aiming to counter Texas Republicans' backed plan to flip Democratic seats. Governor Gavin Newsom says he'll only move forward if Texas succeeds, but county officials are already grappling with logistics for an election that might not even happen. You know what? Maybe gruesome Newsom should just concentrate on putting out actual fires instead of political ones. How about that? His ambition for presidency is spreading destruction across the Golden State. It's really hurting people. NOAA satellites show the Gifford fire and the Canyon fire. They are continuing to burn across Southern California this week. Both wildfires have prompted thousands of residents to evacuate and forced roads to close around the region. And we haven't even figured out what's going on with the Palisades fire and how to help those people. So it's just, his state is literally on fire. And he's worried about, again, always his ambitions to become president. And it's just going to bite him. At least that would be the hope, because if you can't even handle your own state, how can you handle the nation? It's wild. But turning now to another potential battle. Are MAGA and Maha aligned, or are they at odds right now? RFK Jr. just came down hard against mRNA vaccines, pulling research funding, but it seems Trump is still proud of mRNA, particularly Operation Warp Speed. Watch.
Operation Warp Speed was, whether you're Republican or Democrat, considered one of the most incredible things ever done in this country. The efficiency, the way it was done, the distribution, everything about it has been amazing. But, you know, that was now a long time ago, and we're on to other things. But
well, here to discuss that, it's not pleasant to hear. We'll see what Dr. Ben Tapper thinks. He's a conservative medical freedom warrior from Omaha, Nebraska, first gaining national attention after a video of him speaking at an Omaha City Council meeting in response to the mask mandates going viral. And then, you know, that led to him being afforded the honor of being labeled as one of the disinformation dozen by the Biden administration. So glad to have you here, Dr. Ben Tapper. Wild things going on when it comes to MAGA versus Maha, and you would think they'd be on the same page, but a lot of times things make us question that. And that particular video where they were asking him about the mRNA development, and he just again is like, "Oh, Operation Warp Speed was the best thing ever." It's like, seriously.
Right. You know, it's comical at this point. I just wish that he would admit that this was a disaster. I mean, the only thing that he can attribute to the success of this is the organization of the rollout, how they had ID cards to really point back to the lot. I mean, I've been researching vaccines for 20 years. I've never seen a rollout like this with any vaccine. I mean, they had lot numbers. I feel like we were guinea pigs in a science experiment. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Tuskegee, but I feel like this was Tuskegee 2.0. And so, yeah, it is concerning to me that he so touts that. And really, the data is there that the mRNA technology was harmful, that this vaccine was a disaster. We have more cardiovascular issues than ever before. And if you look at the VAERS data, system, their own data from the Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting System, we have a 112% increase in cerebral thrombosis, which, we've never seen anything like this prior to the rollout of this mRNA technology. So, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. We have cardiovascular obstructions, more myocarditis than ever before. And you have to wonder why that is. And the elephant in the room is this mRNA technology.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it really is puzzling. I mean, certainly people have told him over and over again, like, your base doesn't like Operation Warp Speed. Like, this was not a good thing. But yeah, he still is like, it's so great. And so it makes you wonder, does he really have that much of a pride problem? Is he completely out of touch? Is he compromised? There's so many questions that come to mind when you hear him just repeatedly say this. I mean, I've been to places where I've been like standing basically right in front of Trump, and people in the crowd have shouted about this, and he's still like, it's like, what? I don't get it. I mean, it's also interesting that you would think the president would be aware of polling, and I'm sure you saw that Kaiser Family Foundation poll where it shows 59% of Americans are saying no to the fall COVID shot, and only 49% trust the CDC or FDA on vaccine safety. So, I mean, that's encouraging. But it just seems like Trump is hesitant to get fully on board with everything that RFK Jr. is doing. And at times it seems RFK Jr. is hesitant to get fully on board with the Maha agenda. So where do you think we're at with the things that should be a priority?
Well, I think we are at a crossroads right now in this country when it comes to our healthcare system. I mean, we have the Maha movement. A lot of people are behind RFK Jr. They're excited what he's doing. He's canceling a lot of this mRNA technology, which I think is a good thing. But we do have, Trump also second day in office pushing AI, a $500 billion AI surveillance system, and touting mRNA technology for cancer research and CRISPR-Cas9 technology on the forefront. These are gene editing tools. I call them the molecular scissors to input genome information and alter our genome and who God created us to be, which is concerning. There should be a topic at the forefront here. So we are at a crossroads. It's going to be interesting to see where the next year or two play out with our healthcare system and our current healthcare system. But make no mistake, the one thing that we know right now is that people are sicker now more than ever before. We have a massive increase in chronic disease, especially in our children. And we need to change the paradigm away from the sickness model. We need to move into lifestyle care or more of that wellness and prevention paradigm, which is lifestyle choices, making healthier lifestyle choices. But we are not seeing that right now in our current healthcare system. It's either drugs or surgery or more vaccines. And so I believe that the tides are turning.
Yeah, it's just, I think that we're impatient at this point. It's like we've dealt with this long enough, and we really truly all believe that this should be of the highest and utmost important, besides all of the, you have Russiagate, you have Epstein, but like, okay, people are dying. People are still dying from this mass vaccine rollout. But again, it is like a bit of a head scratcher. I'm sure you listen to a lot of the same people I do. You on the extreme side, you have people like the Health Ranger, Mike Adams, who I've always liked, but he takes it to the extreme and is like, Trump is actually part of an agenda to depopulate as a way for us to not have as much nationwide debt. I mean, that seems a bit extreme to me. I don't want to think it, but then I see flashback videos of Bill Gates talking about having had a meeting with Trump. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but let's play it. It's a quick video. I'll just play it and we'll talk about it on the other side.
Then the second time I saw him was the March after that, so March 2017 in the White House. In both of those two meetings, he asked me if vaccines weren't a bad thing, because he was considering a commission to look into ill effects of vaccines. And somebody, his name is Robert Kennedy Jr., was advising him that vaccines were causing bad things. And I said, no, that's a dead end. That would be a bad thing. Don't do that.
It's so funny watching that again, because it's like he acts like he doesn't, even back then, he acts like he doesn't. He's like some guy, Robert F. Kennedy, like he would have known who that was. I mean, give me a break. But it is a bit creepy to see him saying that he was at one time advising President Trump against just simply investigating vaccines.
Well, how does a computer nerd like him become the authoritative voice in vaccines and healthcare? That's what baffles my brain. So many people say, "Oh, you have no business speaking on this. You're not an epidemiologist or an immunologist or whatever." I'm just like, okay, well, you know what? It doesn't. Your level of IQ is showing here. You can be a mechanic and see that there's something not right with what's going on. And Bill Gates is a computer nerd pushing vaccines. It's comical. So
I love that you bring that up again, though, because it's like we forget that we've been so conditioned to be like, Bill Gates is the vaccine guy, that it's like we need to be reminded he has zero specialty in this. And I mean, even like how he was sitting there, I told him that was a dead end. Like, again, like he has any authority on knowing whether or not we should investigate vaccines. You are a computer nerd. So I love that you bring it back to that simple truth again.
Yes, I mean, he's a modern day villain. I mean, he's altering our foods. I mean, he believes that the world is overpopulated. He says that in a TED Talk. I mean, he says that he can lower the population through vaccination. I mean, what else did he mean? And how can you spin that any other way? I mean, his dad has a hand in the early stages of Planned Parenthood. He was with Margaret Sanger, and so it is concerning to me. I don't trust Bill Gates, and it baffles my brain that he has the authority he does in this realm, but he's a huge investor into the World Health Organization, which is another organization I do not trust. I mean, and so it is concerning. But again, it goes back to who do we trust in this area? And this is like, man, I just trust Jesus Christ. He's the rock I stand on. And it's, we are in times of massive deception, and where do we turn in these times? But again, I don't trust what's coming down the pipeline here.
That reminds me of something that happened this morning that I think that is a good reminder. Many of us support President Trump. We love the good things that are happening, but we constantly need to check ourselves and make sure that our discernment is on high, and that we are praying for him and his commitment to being a good leader, because I switch around to all the different news channels. I need to see what the legacy media is saying, and then the far right, just to get a good flavor of what people are talking about. And so I happen to have Newsmax on, and my husband made a joke before he left work. He's like, and then Trump walked over a puddle outside of the White House and said, "Come follow me." And of course we support Trump, but it was funny. It was just the way that Newsmax was like, just everything was like so celebratory. It was just a funny, silly joke. But I think it is a good reminder, okay, but he's not God, and we need to remain critical and also skeptical. I think that God expects that from us. That being said, we're talking about knowing your specialty. I'm not a doctor. I don't know the deep science behind a lot of these things. And so I wanted to play a recent something that RFK Jr. was talking about. And to me, it sounds creepy, but maybe you can help explain. He was talking about developing universal vaccines. So I think it's a pretty quick clip, and then we'll talk about that on the other side.
Right now, we're developing a universal vaccine at NIH, which is a vaccine that addresses the entire phylum of viruses. And so it's a vaccine that mimics natural immunity, and it is effective against any kind of mutation. So it doesn't drive the virus to mutate, and it could be effective. We believe it's going to be effective against not only coronaviruses but also flu, and it's going to be a much safer and much more effective vaccine.
Mark, did you have a question? Universal vaccine. What do you think?
To me, I don't believe there is a safe vaccine. It is concerning to me to hear these things. The way God made the body, vaccines go against the way God made the immune system. And so for me to get behind a so-called vaccine, I'd like to see these ingredients. I mean, we have formaldehyde in these vaccines, and look at the leukemia rises and the correlation with formaldehyde in these vaccines. We have mRNA technology, CRISPR-Cas9 technology. RFK has also talked about how he endorses CRISPR-Cas9 technology, which is absolutely concerning. And I think this is where he's referring to the universal vaccine, is because CRISPR-Cas9 technology is basically inputting, splicing into the genome and altering and causing genetic expression in anything you want. So you can express health health or disease, the technology is actually really, really cool, but it's also very, very scary, especially if you got into the wrong hands. I don't trust our government with this technology, especially big pharma. And so it is concerning that we have the talk of a universal vaccine. I just like to do away with the childhood schedule. I like to do away with these vaccines because we are, it's like this religion behind these vaccines, the stronghold. And, there is a stigma around even having a conversation around a lot of these vaccines with a lot of people. It's like, oh, gosh, you're an anti-vaxxer. You can't question it. And, and it's healthy to question this. And I stand behind Bobby Kennedy, I stand behind Trump, and I support them. I voted for them, and I pray for them. But again, it's healthy to question what some of these things are doing. We can't just be blind and dumb and deaf and not talk about these things. And we have to have conversations around this topic because it is concerning. Again, having a universal vaccine, to me, that they're pushing either sRNA technology or CRISPR-Cas9 technology or something that they're not really disclosing, because having a one-size-fits-all vaccine, that's a recipe for adverse reactions. And look at these cocktail vaccines. There's no research around these cocktail vaccines like the MMR, like double-blind placebo studies. This is why RFK is talking about that, how we need to hold these vaccines to the standard of science, which is the double-blind placebo. And these vaccines are not held to that standard. So again, a universal vaccine, I need to see more research behind it. I need to see the ingredient list, and I need to see how it's made and if it does have CRISPR-Cas9.
Yeah, and how we move forward is, I think, going to be really determinant about how much of accountability we get for the past, what we've already been through. I'm not sure if you were following this story about the Dutch lawyer. InfoWars had this report about the Dutch lawyer Arno van Kessel, who was suing Bill Gates, the Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla, and WEF's Klaus Schwab over the COVID vaccine injuries. Well, then he was arrested in a late night military raid, according to this article, thrown into a maximum security prison without charges, blindfolded, denied access to his family or a legal team. And of course, his arrest coming just before a high-profile trial questioning if these policies were part of the Great Reset or if the vaccine was a bioweapon. I'm not sure if you've followed that story, but do you have any reaction to how it's still so hard to get any kind of accountability of a crime that on such a huge scale?
Oh, people need to understand, the American people need to understand that there was massive, massive, massive corruption. It started prior to COVID. I mean, COVID-19 was the Hegelian dialectic, the problem, reaction, solution. It was a Trojan horse to implement a lot of this globalist agenda legislation. I mean, this is how I got involved in this fight from a political realm. We started Nebraskans for Medical Freedom in 2017. We saw bills coming our way, legislation coming our way that would send a shiver up your spine. I mean, our own government came after me, American citizen, a taxpaying citizen, because I had information that the government was lying to the people. I would put on lectures for over 10 years that talk about the data, that they're manipulating data to lie and to coerce the American people. Okay. And so when I hear stories like this, I don't doubt that that's occurring. I mean, you look at the World Health Organization, the pandemic treaty, okay, the pandemic treaty, I call it the pandemic treaty, but they stated, the verbiage in that treaty stated that they would silence anyone they wanted full authority in that treaty, first of all. And in that treaty, they stated that if they succeeded having full authority, they would be able to silence anyone that is an opposing voice to the CDC or their recommendations. So, I was deleted. My social media was hitting 3 to 4 million people a month at one time. My accounts were wiped clean. They took my money. They seized my accounts. Now, if the World Health Organization treaty passes, and if they have full authority, they'll put me in jail, just like those people. They'll say anybody that's deemed disinformation will be silenced with authoritative means. That means I'll be behind bars, just like that gentleman. So when I see articles like that, it tells me that this is still very much alive, that this evil is still rampant, that these people are still in authority, and they're very, very powerful people. Make no mistakes, Bill Gates is a very, very powerful individual. He has influence, and he can influence other governments and authoritative means to silence people that are in opposition to him and what he wants to do and his agendas. So it is very, very concerning, but it should wake people up and understand that what we're up against.
Absolutely. I have to start to wrap up, but I wanted to see if you had any final thoughts on Maha movements in general. There's been a lot of shakeups lately. We had Prasad resign, and then it was my understanding that he was the one that was actually trying to resist the approval of mRNA vaccines for children, and so he was pushed out. And then, there's still speculation that, Susie Wiles is the chief of staff of President Trump. So she's the one pushing these vaccine things because of her pharma lobbying history. And so it gets really confusing. Like, where do you think we're headed? Are you still feeling positive about it?
I'm very hopeful. I want to put it that way. I put my faith in the Lord, Jesus Christ, and I'm hopeful. I'm praying for this administration. I just understand what we're up against, but it does concern me when we have people that I stood behind still tout the vaccine, still tout Operation Warp Speed, still push this forward. They do a lot of good on one side, and then they go out and they kind of they do the complete opposite. So it's hard to know what to trust. Who do we stand against and what we stand for? And so I am hopeful. I still like to see some changes. I think that there are still some good people in this administration trying to do what's best for this country and for the people. But again, I think we're up against a massive Goliath here. And so we really need to put it in God's hands and be praying for this country, but also be diligent and not complacent. I have seen so much complacency, and really we have to be proactive in this fight. So many people just rely on the other person to do something. It's like, what if we had, that irate, tireless minority of people keen on setting brush fires of freedom in the minds of the people. That's that's where real change will occur. And it doesn't take a majority to prevail. We need that irate, tireless minority of men and women who are willing to say enough is enough, and we need to get into the fight, stand in the gap, and your voice matters. I mean, I'm just a little chiropractor here that was convicted of, or had some convictions that really spoke out, and my convictions are greater than my complacency. And I spoke out, and again, our voice matters here. And so, we never know how far reaching something we may think, say, or do today will affect the lives of millions tomorrow. Just getting out, getting involved, God will use you. Let him be the lamp at your feet, and you never know the changes that he'll make and that you'll start seeing. And that's where real change will occur.
Yeah, I think so too. And thank you for that great motivation and reminder that it's up to us. We cannot be complacent, and we need to make sure that we're using good discernment in all circumstances. Please follow my friend Dr. Ben Tapper 1 on X, Dr. Ben Tapper 1. Since they tried to silence him, that it's even more important to amplify him and to make sure you listen to what he's doing. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yep. All right. You can support this network and our ability to amplify voices that have been silenced, the true journalistic tenet to be a voice for the voices. You can help support what we're doing simply by doing some shopping. You can go to mypillow.com, use promo code KL. It'll get you a great discount, all kinds of things like my slippers that my daughter stole from me. She just went to her room, so I had to shout her out. So we love these slippers. They get stolen around the house. There is the great towels. They're better than hotel quality. And a lot of times you can get the free shipping. So check out all of the classic offerings and then the newly added offerings there on mypillow.com. All right, I want to hit some immigration news real quick, and then hopefully our next guest will be ready. So lots going on with that still. It is a big legal win, though, that we saw for Trump in D.C. CBS News reporting a federal appeals court just tossed out a judge's contempt order against the Trump administration for deporting Venezuelan migrants to El Salvador under the Alien Enemies Act. If we can scroll up a bit, recognize that guy. It's the same guy that's been trying to fight Trump on everything. So they ruled against Boasberg there that you see. And the court they said in a 2-1 ruling that they're calling this contempt that he was putting out there an overreach. They found that was an overreach, and it certainly was. So sorry, Boasberg, you lost this one, and a win for Trump. But CBS News is reporting U.S. District Judge Deborah Boardman, she just issued the fourth nationwide block against President Trump's executive order to end birthright citizenship, ruling it can't strip citizenship from kids born to non-citizens or temporary residents. This comes after a Supreme Court decision in June that was supposed to limit all of these broad injunctions. But Boardman certified a class of all affected children, saying Trump's order likely violates the 14th Amendment. So the fight over birthright citizenship is far from over. That will probably end up needing to be seen in the Supreme Court. The Trump administration is urging the Supreme Court to overturn a Los Angeles judge's ruling that blocks federal agents from making immigration stops based on factors like race, accent, working certain jobs. This is according to SCOTUS blog. U.S. Solicitor General D. John Sauer argues this order cripples immigration enforcement in Central California and flouts recent Supreme Court precedent on broad injunctions. So here again, we had this SCOTUS ruling preventing broad injunctions, but they just keep on doing it. Like they'll find any reason to block anything that President Trump is trying to do. Speaking of things that he's trying to do, he signed an executive order yesterday directing the Census Bureau to create a new count that excludes undocumented immigrants using 2024 election data and other records. This is according to AP. But look at this headline. Question and answer. Can Trump hold a census in the middle of a decade and exclude immigrants in the U.S. illegally? Just the way that they word that, they instead of saying illegal immigrants, they say exclude immigrants in the U.S. illegally. I don't know. I always think it's like a play on words so that the first thing that people see is like, oh, he just wants to exclude immigrants. No, people that are here illegally, illegal immigrants. So I just always feel like they're playing with words. So they want to, this move, it's aimed at reshaping congressional seats and funding. It's faced legal hurdles since it was attempted in 2020. And back then it was blocked by courts. So we'll see what happens. But it just seems like logic. No, if they can't, if they're not supposed to be able to legally vote, why are we counting them as people to represent? It just doesn't make any logical sense to me. Anyway, the debate is raging. Things got heated between Anna Kasparian and Scott Jennings on CNN. Lots of fire here. Watch what happens when she starts calling ICE agents essentially Gestapo.
I will just say Republicans right now are trying to recruit and give bonuses to people who want to serve in ICE. And Democrats right now and people on the left are encouraging violence against people who want to serve in ICE.
They are? How are they encouraging
violence? Putting them in harm's way every day.
How
so
exactly?
The two parties and how they're treating ICE agents right now, I think Republicans embracing recruitment of ICE and Democrats encouraging maybe violence.
So we're just going to make a declarative statement like that without providing a single shred of evidence.
You have not seen the myriad stories of ICE agents?
Okay,
Democrats every day are calling them the Gestapo. Do you think that helps or hurts?
Well, they do act like Gestapo when they're showing up.
Now you're doing
well, they are.
If
they're just showing up
in
Penske trucks.
Do you condone the violence?
Home Depot. Listen, I don't want my tax dollars going to that garbage, okay? Those people do not deserve to be treated that way simply because they might be undocumented.
Do the ICE agents deserve to be having violent acts committed?
I love that part. I don't want my tax dollars going to that garbage. And he goes, to enforcement of federal law? He's the only reason to watch on CNN anymore. But I mean, he was making the point that when they're calling them Nazis, Gestapo, like this is what is adding to the violence that they're having to face just for enforcing the law. I mean, it's wild that this happens. All right, so we want to go to our next guest. It's been a while since I've been able to catch up with Jeff Dornick. He is the CEO of Pickaxe. He is determined to allow people to have a totally free voice on the social media platform that he has been creating. And it's, again, just dedicated to preserving free speech because, let's face it, we're appreciative of Elon Musk buying X, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's always going to be friendly. And there may be things to point to that it's being acting suspiciously from time to time anyways. And ultimately he wants to make sure that people get paid for their work and not through engagement farming like we always have to see on X. But Jeff, thank you so much for joining me. Another reason I wanted to join today is that I was just talking to Dr. Ben Tapper, and we were really trying to break down where we think Maha is headed. I know you're really passionate about that as well. So we'll dig into that as well as much time as we have together. But what's really on your radar right now?
Yeah, well, honestly, I've been talking a lot about artificial intelligence and the direction that's heading, and how all these big tech platforms are basically just using us as their users in order to collect all the data and funnel it into AI. But then now we're seeing the Trump administration actually making this humongous push to integrating artificial intelligence on a massive scale. We just saw Amazon, I believe, in the last couple of days offered the federal government a $1 billion with a B, $1 billion coupon for the federal government to use to actually implement their servers and artificial intelligence. We're seeing the FDA now using AI to fast track FDA approval of drugs to do simulated testing, which again, with how corrupt the FDA has been historically, I mean, we don't think that a big pharma is going to have any say in the data set that they're going to be implementing with AI, whether it's now or in the future. So there's a lot of concerns with this really big push for AI, but then also even bigger to me is the push for AI that's actually replacing human beings. We're seeing Meta use AI to replace human content creators with AI generated content creators. We're seeing censorship happening all over the place. We're seeing algorithms being dictated by AI. I just don't like the direction that we're heading with AI, but it just seems like everybody's just fast tracking it. So, which again leads me back to Pickaxe, where it's like, okay, let's have a human-centered social media platform. It's not that complicated to do, but nobody's doing it. So I'm like, hey, we're gonna do it.
So you're so committed to this that while other social media companies and platforms are doing more integration of AI, you're actually saying, no, I'm not interested in that for my platform. We're going to have this human centric. I mean, do you think that you can do that with the whole industry going the other direction?
Yeah, well, it sets us apart from everybody else. I mean, when you think about it, everybody else is competing to see who can outperform each other with AI and basically replace humans. And I'm just like, all the human beings, you guys are getting kicked off of everywhere. You're getting shadow banned. Your algorithms are manipulating your reach. Come over here and you can actually enjoy both freedom of speech and freedom of reach. You get direct interaction with your audience. We're going to do everything we can to get you monetized, to make you more money. And guess what? Here's the dirty secret, is that instead of us trying to take away your monetization, which is what all these other platforms are trying to do, what we're trying to do is make you more successful. Because guess what? When you're more successful, we're more successful. So for me, my job is to make your voice heard. My job is to help you to monetize more effectively and find as many different ways for you to have more direct access to your audience and the people that you want to interact with. And if we're successful with that, then you're successful, we're successful, everybody's successful, as opposed to the big tech platforms that are just trying to make themselves successful and kind of say screw you to everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty disgusting. It feels like such a game. I mean, we've already been through the being demonetized, it's like when Facebook didn't realize like what I was doing, I started suddenly like making some monetization that helped me break into being independent outside of the system of mainstream media. But as soon as they figured out, oh, wait, we don't like what she's saying, then it was just gone. And there was no infractions, nothing. It was just gone. And it's like, oh, so if I was saying what they wanted me to say, like I could make a living, And so it's gross, but it's also gross even on the X level, because I'm sure I'm not the only one that is scrolling through X and seeing things like, what do you notice in this picture, over and over and over again? I hate that. Like, I'm like, okay, like, it's just like glaring. You might as well put a sign up like, I want engagement. Like, there's nothing for me to even look at in this picture. And you're telling me like, what do you see in the picture? That kind of stuff drives me insane. And so I've really found myself, cutting back totally on posting because I'm just sick of the game. Like, I'm sick of being able to see that people are just trying to engagement farm.
Yeah, well, and the thing is that it's all being incentivized by these AI algorithms, basically, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to learn what attracts you. They're trying to learn what sucks you in, what gets you going. And so what ends up happening is you get all this engagement farming. The AI sees, oh, this is getting a lot of engagement. A lot of people are being attracted to this kind of a thing. So then they're actually encouraging it with their algorithms and encouraging that type of content over more substantive, conversations and topics and all of that. So like how we're contrasting that is we're leaning very heavily into the long form content. So you like on Pickaxe, you can write articles, full articles. We're going to be finding a bunch of different ways of being able to integrate with that. We're going to be rolling out an email newsletter component that's going to put us in direct competition with, let's say, Substack, that'll be built in and integrated into the platform. We're also heavily integrating into Rumble to where you can actually post your Rumble shows directly on our platform. It's playable in our newsfeed, both on the web version and on the app as well, that we're going to be rolling out here in the next few weeks. But we also have automatic posting to where you can actually connect your Rumble channel to Pickaxe. It automatically posts. It's playable. We're going to find as many different ways to encourage the more conversations, the more nuanced conversation, not just the engagement farming that you get on all the other platforms. And our monetization and our revenue share program is actually set up to where it's not going to incentivize the engagement farming. It's actually incentivizing more substantive conversations and debate. And I think that it's going to give us a win here.
Absolutely. I love that. And I really encourage people to check out pickaxe.com. It is so hard with all of these different social media things that you're supposed to, but yeah, let's focus our efforts onto things that are human centric, aligned with our thinking, and totally on board with that. I don't have you for much longer, Jeff, but again, really want to encourage people to go to pickaxe.com. And, as I mentioned, you were a huge, supporter of RFK Jr. When he was running for president, huge supporter of the Maha agenda. And so I'm just curious, just to extend the conversation I was just having with Dr. Ben Tapper, how do you think we're doing in these efforts of Maha? Do you think it's become Maha versus MAGA? What are your thoughts right now?
I think it's more, Maha versus the Trump White House. I think the White House is tying RFK Jr.'s hands behind his back and severely limiting what he's able to do. I think evidence of that is Gray Delaney was just forced to resign, I believe either yesterday or today, based upon some comments that he made defending RFK Jr. and his decision to defund mRNA technology. And so he was actually let go, or basically forced to resign today for basically supporting RFK Jr.'s stated position. So clearly there's pushback coming from the Trump administration. And I would guess probably Susie Wiles and her ilk are behind a lot of this kind of stuff. So clearly the Trump administration does not want mRNA technology going anywhere, as evidenced by, I think it was on day 2, they announced the big partnership with Sam Altman and Larry Ellison and Stargate, which was mRNA technology combined with AI. So they're leaning heavily into AI while Kennedy's trying to pull back from it. He's pulling back from that. They're having a sit-down meeting, I believe, either yesterday or today with Trump, and then they fire basically one of the HHS staffers for defending RFK Jr.'s decision to defund mRNA. So I think that they are trying to severely limit RFK Jr. and his effectiveness. And I think in all reality, he's trying to do the best that he can under the circumstances. But we need to make our voices heard to let the Trump administration know, like, look, we want to get rid of this stuff. We do not approve of you guys pulling this garbage. We need actual medical freedom, and we need to end mRNA technology, period.
Yeah, I mean, somebody needs to get everybody on the same page, because I do think that a big part of why Trump was elected is because RFK Jr. was able to bring all the people that were really passionate about these health freedom initiatives. They were able to bring them to the voting booth, And so, I mean, we have to make sure that that's part of the initiative, and that it's not just about, what's in our food. Like, no, most of us care about ending the vaccines that are actually killing people. I mean, yes, we might be getting some poisons from food, but the vaccines is a hot topic for people. Well, it looks like I'm running out of time, Jeff, but I definitely want to have you back. Perhaps on a regular basis, because I know that you're following all of this stuff, and you're doing your own thing with supporting humanity, which is what we're very passionate about here at Lindell TV. So again, people can go to pickaxe.com. And also, I mean, in the meantime, before you get signed up, you can reach out to Jeff Dornick. You are still on X so that people can reach you, right?
Yeah, I'm still on X for a short period of time. Once we have the app, I'm going to be over on Pickaxe exclusively. So the app's dropping tentative date, September 1st. We're going to be making a big announcement on that, and some really cool things coming down the pipeline as well.
Excellent. Keep us in the loop. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right, and that's going to do it for me for DC Dispatch. As you saw earlier, Kara Castronova, she's there at the White House covering the Peace Summit there. So much more going on, even on a Friday. So keep it locked in here to Lindell TV White House coverage. Thanks for watching.